Hi, my name is Nathan Bukovich, and this is my podcast assignment. I am deciding to do my podcast on for athletes' mental health and wellness. I am deciding to pick this on college athletic department, mainly for South Georgia University. This is a university that I kind of just made up just for this presentation. Um, so a little bit about before I get into this, about my former experience as a college athlete, I can confidently tell you that mental health is a very, very, very big problem when it comes to college athletes. For example, the typical college student has to balance, school life along with, being on their own for the first time and just kind of living in the real world in an aspect for the first time in their lives. But then being a college athlete, you have to put sports inside as well. It can be very overwhelming. It can be, stay up late studying till like 2, 3 a.m. and then get up at 6 a.m. for a lift. And that's very confusing. You don't have a lot of time for free time. And just as a college athlete, former college athlete, I can relate to this topic in a lot of instances. So, for segment one, for the longest time, there was no effort helping college athletes with their mental problems or anyone in general. With that being said, mental health wasn't really considered a problem, 20 years ago. But now, in the past, like I would say at least the last 10 years, mental health has become a very, very, very important topic in recent events. Now, that being said, college athletes were supposed to be, the toughest of the tough. They were supposed to, put on a pedestal and being like they don't have these type of problems, but unfortunately they do. Over the last few years, it's been clear that mental health has taken a huge toll on the population, and there is a lot of effort to help them like get better with it. With that being said, there's a lot of reports saying that there needs to be greater help with college athletes and their mental health. Again, this goes back to like a lot of people don't really think that college athletes have a lot of mental health, but it can be very, very stressful for college athletes. Segment two, many athletes struggle with anxiety and burnout and self doubt. This was a lot of people don't realize this, but they actually do deal with a lot of this type of stuff. While mental health among college athletes is receiving increasing attention, researching on factors surrounding college athletes' decision to seek mental health services is limited. So even though that the attention for mental health for college athletes is, getting prioritized, their resources are still limited. This particularly means from the NCAA, they're not really doing the best thing to help their athletes. Just a little bit of quick statistics that I found online about mental health. An NCAA study found that 30% of survey athletes feel extremely overwhelmed, with nearly 25% feeling mentally exhausted, and this was done in a study in 2021. The National College Health Association reported 31 of male and 48 of female NCAA student athletes reported having depression or anxiety symptoms each year. The test was issued from 2008 to 2012. This study was done in 2018. Just a little bit more, they allow athletes to voice their struggles by establishing a safe environment that is open to all these kinds of discussions. What this means is that, recently there's been a lot more, polls, for example, that student athletes have to take. There's like a lot of required like tests and paperwork every single year. An athlete, whether it's from NCAA, JUCO, NAIA, even the NCAA division, you always have to fill out some type of form in this aspect. As sports league advance, so the demand of student athletes with emphasize on creating a better environment for student athletes. The goal is to see their mental health improve the same as the game evolves. So that being said, in the future years and as of right now, sports are becoming more demanding. Okay, last few years, NAI has really changed the whole level of college athletes, and especially here at South Georgia University. And we see that a lot of all of our athletes are really struggling to comprehend. They're making all this money, still trying to get an education, still dealing with all the aspects of like real life, and they're just really having a hard time with that. Now, it's our job as a university to help our athletes get better with this, feel more comfortable in these situations, and just really just overall just like help them get ready for the real world. I mean, mental health problems are gonna follow them even when they're done being a college athlete. So it's our job to help them with that. And that's something I don't really think is taught about a lot and for college athletes. So segment three, my solution would be for the NCAA to have more services in place so athletes feel safe and also get rid of extra stress that the student athletes have. That being said, there is very limited sources that the NCAA or NAI, JUCO, NCAA divisions have for their college athletes. There's no, sports therapists. You can obviously go and talk to your coach, but a lot of athletes don't really go and talk to their coach about these type of things. So my idea is that the NCAA should put a rule in place to have sports psychologists for every single team. Now, I mean every single university. Now, this is a big idea, and it could cause a lot of logistic problems, but it could create more job opportunities for psychologists. It could help student athletes a lot of ways, and it also could impact the it could positively influence the athletic departments for all these universities for helping the student athletes. I will say for bigger universities like SEC schools like Georgia and Alabama, one sports psychologist probably wouldn't be, you know, the for all those teams probably wouldn't be, you know, the best. They probably need multiple. For a smaller school like Reinhardt, for example, they could, maybe deal with only one. So that is something to keep in mind in this aspect. And also just get rid of extra stress that student athletes have. Maybe we can, as the NCAA, we can or maybe for South Georgia University, we can talk to the administration and maybe start getting bring some people in and that have these kids like understand that hey, like you know you are going through a lot being a student athlete, but maybe we can help you manage your time. If we can help these kids manage their time, then they can cut down things that stress them out, and they have a set schedule that can help them out. Not just with college, but when they're done graduate and they're graduated and they're in the real world. So that is something to keep in mind. Segment four, some of the takeaways I've seen from doing a lot of research about the certain topic is that a lot of them really don't, I wouldn't say care about this aspect of mental health for college athletes, but a lot of them just, in my opinion, think they really can just deal with it. There's no real like effort to help like college athletes with their mental health. They just kind of have to deal with it, which I get it. It's a hard thing to do, but unfortunately, there have been some situations. There was a Stanford soccer star that unfortunately, committed suicide not too long ago, and everyone thought he was just happy go get guy, but unfortunately, he was dealing with a lot of stress and he couldn't deal with it anymore. So that's another aspect that people have to think about when it comes to this type of stuff. So for my AI statement for this podcast, I did use AI to research for my five sources and just kind of help me out to find a little bit more information about mental health for student for college student athletes. Other than that, I did not use AI. I just helped it to get to my sources. Um, and yeah, this is my presentation for athletes' mental health and wellness for College Athletics Department of South Georgia University. Thank you so much for your time.